Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Pep Talk. Today, we are so fortunate to be able to have a conversation with Dr. Vance Thompson. Vance Thompson has his main facility in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, but now the practice has actually branched out to, I think, as many as 6 states. Vance, welcome. So good to see you.
Thank you for having me, Sharif. It means a lot.
Well, it's a different world, isn't it, than we were just a couple months ago.
Definitely a different world. And what I'm finding is really good medicine is having talks like this with trusted comrades and friends. So thanks for being my good medicine today.
Well, I'm glad to. So let's just kind of for a minute before we get into what's going on in your practice in Sioux Falls. What's one thing, one habit maybe you've picked up that you're not going to go back once this whole COVID thing is behind us? What's one new thing you're doing?
Um, well, I almost have to say two. One is the family time has been just precious. The communication with those you love and just spending time with them, but also sleeping a little more. And you hear about it, how great sleep is for life. But being a busy doctor who loves what he does and wants to be great for his family too, sometimes, the time for self to sleep has been compromised. And those two things, family and sleep, I'm hoping to not change.
Well, that's great, and I feel much the same way. Similar things in our household. I'll tell you, there's some stuff that's happening that I never want to go back, and we're playing a lot of board games in
Yeah.
our house and really enjoying it. Discovered some new ones like Catan, and
Yeah.
really having a lot of fun with that. But thanks for sharing. And you're a native of South Dakota. You grew up in the western part of the state, and now live and work in Sioux Falls. What's happening in your community? I see certain things in the news, but give us a real-time update, if you will.
Well, this community kind of sits a ways away from, big cities and has an amazing medical system. And yes, we live in an agricultural environment, but we also have great banking and great business. And the medical systems, though, I feel have really handled this crisis well. We have, all been extremely concerned about safety and seeing, some of the health issues that are happening around the country, including locally. But we've been really following our medical systems because, we followed them as we chose to close our office to everything but emergencies and urgencies. And we're going to follow them as, we wake up too. And they've been really communicating well with this region.
One of the things that's been in the news, at least here on the West Coast, I think nationally, has been the tension. And of course, everyone wants to see everything get back to normal and the economy pick up. But if we jump the gun too soon, that could be disastrous for us. And that played out right in your town between the mayor of Sioux Falls and the governor of South Dakota. Did they call you to help mediate?
You know, um, I got to tell you, I really feel both have really good points. The mayor is looking after the biggest town in our state, Sioux Falls, and so handling it like a town of a couple 100,000 people should be acting. But in my hometown of Gregory, South Dakota, out in the middle of the state, town of 1,200, they haven't had one case. And so the governor has had a delicate position about how to balance rural with urban. And I think our mayor, being a little bit more aggressive with urban, has been right also.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you've got the large meat producer, large pork producer in the country. I think 5% of the comes out of that one plant in Sioux Falls.
Yes, amazing. And it just shows that people work too closely together, how aggressive this virus can be. And I think it translates well into as we open up our practices, we can't be working too closely together to protect our staff, our patients, and ourselves.
Well, let's shift now and talk about your practice. And you've got a fantastic facility. It's a beautiful facility. In fact, I'm gonna show it on the screen. I'm gonna do a quick screen share, and show everyone who is watching so they can see visually what Vance Thompson Vision looks like. Here's an interior, and Vance, it's that beautiful nighttime shot with the lighting there. And it's incredible. I'm so glad to have been able to visit on multiple occasions. But what is happening in your practice right now? What have you done? What steps have you taken? And share different aspects of it, please.
Well, when our national academy and our local societies and hospitals and government asked us to stop doing elective surgery to not only protect people but save equipment for the hospitals, we did it. We followed those rules and stayed open just for emergencies and real urgencies. And that's a big challenge for a practice that urgencies and emergencies are about 3% of the revenue. Ophthalmology is very elective, as and our practice even more so elective. But we have listened, but we have not quit working. We have worked harder than ever, to tell you the truth, to kind of shift from doctors to doing more business. We have an amazing business support team, and with our CEO, Matt, we have just wonderful leaders. But we also have, as doctors, have had to become more businesslike as we figure out how to survive during this time in multiple ways, including financial, but also to be thinking about, how can we, get out of the hole financially and thrive after this, kind of like pulling back the slingshot, creating an energy for when it's appropriate to get back into what we do more electively.
Sure. We want to dive into that a little deeper, but first, just talk a little bit more about what you had to do short term with your team. And the team in Sioux Falls is how many people total at your facility?
Yeah, it's about 140 in Sioux Falls. We have about 200 total in all our facilities. And that was, a real, main concern, because how much we value culture, and that all starts with our work family. And so the big decision when this all happened was people were afraid of, couldn't afford to keep their team. And we were afraid also. And it was amazing how the government, how nimble they were to get the Paycheck Protection Program going and to start talking about it right away, because it gave us hope. It gave us some formulas to do some calculations, and it gave us a good platform to talk with our team. And we said, team, we don't know exactly how we're going to do this, but our goal is for us to stay intact. We don't have a plan yet. And we took on the philosophy of telling them that we're going to do the right thing. We're going to do the best thing. We're going to tell you what we know.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to tell you what we don't know. And we will give you a timeline of when we're going to give you an update on what we don't know. And starting those communications real early were real important. Our leadership was talking every day, even the weekends, as we were Zooming and trying to figure out. We were sending video messages to our team frequently, and then having also town hall meetings with our team, because the anxiety that happens when you're not being told is what we were really trying to prevent. And so now there's video messages that go out on a Tuesday and also on a Friday. And we're just had our huddle this morning, like we do in our office when we're open. And it's a really neat time. We all miss each other. So keeping these communications up was real important. But I think one of the most important things that we did during this time was to organize our thoughts. Our practice, Sharif, you've advised us on things. You know how much we value high performance management system.
Yes.
Where you basically use this system to prioritize. And the prioritizing into work groups that would have a high impact. For instance, our finance work group and our government work group, keeping up with everything that's going on there, in our COVID-19 pandemic work group that also included reopening plans, starting from the very beginning of this, and our communications plan with our team,
Yes.
and our patients and our referring doctors was really important. Our telehealth group. And so these high impact groups that meet every day now during the week at 3:45 our time by Zoom, and we review each important issue with those groups, doctors and business leaders. So I think one of the things we've been doing is very aggressive in communications and a willingness to pivot and not, wish we weren't dealing with it, but deal with it with a positive attitude.
Well, clearly you are operating the practice using established business principles, high performance management being at the top of the list. And it's exemplary to see what you've been doing. But it strikes me as I listen to you that, a lot of people are now starting to talk about patients coming back and will they come back and when will they come back? And there's going to be fear. There's fear out there about coming back, right? Because now they're going to an environment where they could get infected by someone who has the virus. So there's a whole school of thought going into that. But what you talked about was fear among your employees and anxiety among your employees, not so much about the virus, but about their jobs and the ability to stay employed. And again, you've done a great job, it sounds like, of keeping in touch with them and letting them be part of this process right from the start.
I appreciate you saying that. You know how much I value culture, and we value culture. And there's a saying out there that culture eats strategy for lunch. And I have to say, it never really sat well with me. I know both are important. I know I feel a culture is what's really going to take a company to greatness. But it was this, pandemic and crisis that had me drifting to sleep one night after a huge strategy session and listening to my team do amazing, that I realized that culture needs strategy for life. Mm-hmm. And you have to put in the time to do these things that, yes, you need to have a great culture, and it helps so much, even during times like this, to want to be together, feel committed to each other, want to work hard for each other when we're not on those meetings. I think that's what a strong culture does for an organization, makes you want to come to work. But I think that this strategy that we've always worked hard on has really risen to importance during this time, that you got to be smart. And that's why programs like this and me listening to you talk to other people, how it helps me. Or, some of the other newsletter things that you're putting out at a time like this are so helpful. Or our academies that are putting on webinars, or talking to our fellow doctors. I have learned so much from other people. And so having an openness to share and seeing how everybody's helping everybody has been amazing.
Yeah, we all have to do our part in this. And, we'll see. We'll see. We want to come out of it, obviously. And there's some debate as to the timing and protests and counter protests, but that's nothing you and I can control. What we can, the only thing we can control is what happens within our mind and what happens within our four walls. So with that, and with some great examples that you've already given, what would you advise? What are your thoughts for other doctors that are listening? How would you encourage them as we move forward through this to the other side?
Well, to not wait on thinking about the other side and making your practice healthy, to not wait, and that kind of handling in parallel while you're trying to figure out how to survive, to also be thinking about, what it's going to take to open as healthy as possible. And I think that's where, especially if you're a referral-based practice, to be working with your referring doctors during this time. We've been holding webinars on, what we've learned, sharing it with the doctors in our region. And I know that they've really appreciated it and implemented a lot of the things that, we gave as ideas. And in the question answer sessions, we've learned things from our referring doctors on, what we can do to optimize our plan.
Mm-hmm.
Communicating with our patients has been real important also. We've tried to do all these communications with a heavy dose of sensitivity. Sometimes education and marketing during a healthy time should be something that, is not what we're doing right now. Right now, we tip our hat to the fact that a lot of people are suffering. And we also know there's a lot of people out there who aren't getting the eye care that they need. And so we're doing a lot of telecommunications through telehealth. We're doing Facebook Live presentations every week where we can talk with the people that are participating in it. And we've been amazed at the people that have been on it with, kind of talking about what we're all dealing with and suffering through together, and
Right.
just as fellow humans.
Yes.
And then answering their questions about some of their, other eye related issues, and educating in that way, and help people decide what's urgent and what's not. People usually understand emergent, but urgencies take a conversation typically to figure out if it's something that can be handled over the phone or not. And those communications with referring doctors and patients and team have been absolutely critical.
Well, it does take, it takes a team to pull it off. You've got an incredible one. You're pouring back into the community in ways they can benefit, because no one can even choose to come in right now and have life-changing refractive surgery. It's not an option at the moment. But as you said, the ability to empathize and for you to learn from them and them to learn from you and to understand what's urgent, what can wait that's just tremendous. But with that, any closing thoughts, any words of encouragement for the doctors out there that are listening? And by the way, they're listening across multiple specialties, not just ophthalmology.
I think now is a great time to think about adding things to your practice that maybe you felt a busyness before and didn't have the time to fully learn. One of them may be a cataract surgeon who wants to get more into premium implants. I use the example in medicine that there are needs that are, reimbursed by insurance, and people are going to come in because there's a need, but there's also wants. And there's areas of medicine on the elective side that patients are oftentimes really, really interested in and increase the health of the practice. And if there was ever a time to be learning things like premium cataract surgery or cross-linking or, your dry eye program or, aesthetics, to be, working with yourself and your team on things like that. One of the other areas we're working on is our patient communications, working hard on the videos that are going to be sent out so that as much patient education happens as possible away from our center. We feel like our center is going to become a testing and surgery center, and the communications can all be done remotely, and that we're going to be doing things slower. And so if we're going to be doing things slower, that means we're going to be doing surgery, our main revenue producer, slower. So we need to make more time for surgery in our center and be handling the communications away from our center. And those are the things that I would recommend for any area of medicine or any business for that matter.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we've all learned here is, first of all, Zoom has become part of the vocabulary. We don't talk about GoToWebinar or anything else. We just Zoom, and it's become normal. And I think you are right on the money and right on the button with patients and doctors being able to do consults this way. It doesn't replace the in-person, but it augments it in a way that we can save the in-person for what has to happen in person: testing, validation of qualification, and surgery itself.
I will tell you, it's a whole new culture to learn also. I love your book, Bedside Manner, Beyond Bedside Manner, and I've read it, and I'm trying to use it in ways where I think about how do you make that best experience when you're on Zoom?
Yeah.
How do you make social distancing a positive patient experience? And on through your cycle from A to Z in this new world, how do you make an experience that still touches their heart so deeply that they tell their friends how much you cared? And we have to be willing to pivot and re-engineer our patient experience remotely and social distancing wise with a mask on in your office.
Yes. Yeah. It's in this new world, the timing of the book, I've had someone tell me recently, couldn't have been better, because this is the moment when doctors are actually open and actually need to be doing things differently. And as you know, the message of that book is every patient deserves a better experience, regardless whether it's elective or not. So we're looking forward to this thing getting officially released, but so appreciate your kind words of support on the book and our time together today. Vance, thank you so much, and look forward to speaking with you again.
And thank you for everything you do, Sharif, and for having me.
You bet. Well, that's another episode. I'm Sharif Madavi. Until next time, stay safe, wash your hands, love your pets, all the best.